is Holy Trinity, Anglican Church, Vancouver. I'm told that when word got round in the Diocese of Sutherland-Nottingham that Karl was moving to Canada, the joke was, is he not going to be happy until he's done the entire Commonwealth? Acts 17, verse 6. These men who have caused trouble all over the world have now come here. Actually, that was an exaggeration by some bad characters from the marketplace, aka rent-a-mob. And I've only had opportunity to cause trouble in England, Northern Ireland, Australia, a short spell in Bermuda, and now here. The gospel, though, can be trouble. I've half joked that I am suspicious of a church that is growing. I know how to grow a church, except you can reach a point where, well, it's no longer a church. You need to change the name on the door. Alongside numbers, we need to hold fast to integrity and truth. Verse 2. Paul went into the synagogue, and on 3 Sabbath days he reasoned with them from the Scriptures. That's what I love to do. If you ask me what's at the heart of my ministry, it's reasoning with people from the Scriptures. In 2007, I was interviewed successfully for the position of Vicar of the Cranmer Group. Canon John Alderman, representing the patron, CPAS, asked, "Most preachers only have one basic sermon. What's yours?" I had to think fast. What I came up with was, I think, an honest answer. The Bible is important. I don't mind what people believe, so long as they do so on the basis of the Scriptures. Paul explained and proved, verse 3, that the Christ had to suffer and rise from the dead. This Jesus I am proclaiming to you is the Christ. Of course, Jesus is the Christ, you may think. Jesus is the Christ in much the same way that Karl is the Przywala. But, dear friends, that which you perhaps glibly accept was the riot in Thessalonica. In fact, it's what led to Jesus' crucifixion. The Christ in Greek is the same as the Messiah in Hebrew. And yes, the Jews wanted the Messiah. They were waiting for him. But what would he be like? What would he do? What is religion, therefore? A take is, it's there to meet my need. This can be true from within. It's why I come to church. It makes me feel good. Or it can be a critique from without. Religion meets a need which I've moved beyond. Or else, religion can cut across perceived need. It may say, this is what you hadn't thought of. And it's then that it starts to make trouble, starts to make waves. These men who have caused trouble all over the world have now come here. That was said of Paul and Silas, but it had been said of Jesus, and it's what led to his death. If there'd been a survey of Thessalonian Jews, what would have come up as their number one felt need? Get rid of those pesky Romans. And that's the sort of Messiah they were after. But who had Jesus been? He'd suffered and died. Okay, he'd risen from the dead. But your average Jew, as is the case for your average Muslim, got stuck at the suffering and death stage. No, that's not the Messiah stroke prophet they're after. Thank you, but no thank you. I've mentioned C.S. Lewis's errant bishop before, who said, Jesus would have outgrown some of his earlier views, if he'd lived, as he might have done, with a little more tact and patience. Tact and patience, good Lord, deliver us. Paul went into the synagogue, and on 3 Sabbath days he reasoned with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that the Christ had to suffer and rise from the dead. Jesus' death was tragic, but it was no accident. It had to happen. And it was there in the Old Testament, as Paul was able to explain and prove. Isaiah 53:5, for instance. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. Of course, as I indicated last week, for this to make any sense, you've got to believe that you have transgressions stroke iniquities, and that Jesus, by his death, is able to do something about them. That his death was an atoning sacrifice for your sin. He died that we might be forgiven. He died to make us good, that we might go at last to heaven, saved by his precious blood. Some struggle with this. They're not alone. Peter struggled with it. Matthew 16:21. Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen to you." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." Paul and Silas head for Berea, or rather were sent there. Verse 11. Now the Bereans were of more noble character than the Thessalonians, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the Scriptures every day to see if what Paul said was true. If I've learnt anything in 16 years of ordained ministry, it's be careful what you say about whomever to whom, because whatever you say is likely to get back and may well end up biting you. History doesn't record what the Thessalonians thought of what Luke wrote about them vis-a-vis the Bereans. What had happened in Thessalonica? Verse 4. Some of the Jews were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a large number of God-fearing Greeks and not a few prominent women. But the Jews were jealous, so they rounded up some bad characters from the marketplace formed a mob and started a riot in the city. Reference to a mob starting a riot in the city suggests to me that those who opposed Paul and Silas were in a majority. And in Berea, verse 12, many of the Jews believed, as did also a number of prominent Greek women and many Greek men. When the Jews in Thessalonica learned that Paul was preaching the word of God at Berea, they went there too, agitating the crowds and stirring them up. Again, a mixed response, but with the opposition being numbered in crowds. You win some, you lose some. But the indication appears to be that you may well lose more than you win. What group is the most persecuted in the world today? LGBT? BLM? Actually, the group most persecuted in the world today is Christians. But Paul, Silas, and Timothy soldiered on, and so do we. Being a godly irritant, reasoning from the scriptures, proclaiming Jesus as the Christ can cause trouble. But it can also bear fruit. To end on a positive note, Jesus said, "The seed on good soil stands for those with a noble and good heart, who hear the word, retain it, and by persevering, produce a crop." Amen.